After much delay, finally, my personal favorite movies of 2013. Number 10, Prisoners. Just an awesome movie. Hugh Jackman plays a survivalist, and when his daughter's kidnapped, he takes some very unorthodox tactics to try to find her. Jackman's performance was incredible, and he absolutely should have been nominated for an Oscar. This is not an action movie. This is a very suspenseful thriller that flows so well, you hardly realize it's 2.5 hours long. While Jackman totally owns the production, I have to mention Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing as well. Great performances all around, and one of the smartest, tightest thrillers I've seen in quite some time. Number 9, Europa Report. A great hard sci-fi film about a group of scientists searching for life on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. This could be considered a found footage film that was told via video logs from the scientists as they reached Europa. While sure, they did fudge some of the science, it still was way more accurate than many sci-fi films. Usually sci-fi films tend to focus on the elaborate, while this showed how scientists were elated with the discoveries of raw data. It's very well done, and in the end it leaves you with a sense of wonder that you don't always get with this sort of film. Number 8, Riddick. On the other side of the sci-fi scale is Riddick. While Europa Report was overwhelmingly serious, Riddick is a roller coaster. The movie picks up after the criminally overlooked Chronicles of Riddick. Riddick's now the controller of the Necromongers, and he's become soft after a lavish life and many beautiful ladies. After a double-cross leaves him stranded on a desolate planet, he becomes reacquainted with his dark side and sets up his plans to get off the planet and get revenge. While Chronicles was more of a space opera, Riddick goes back to the series' roots, Pitch Black. Vin Diesel loves the character and actually leveraged his house to get the funds to finish the movie. It's badass from beginning to end, and the kills in the film are a stark reminder that this guy is not one to be taken lightly. Number 7, Resolution. A terrific film that not many have heard of. In a last-ditch effort to save his friend, a guy handcuffs him in an abandoned house trying to get him to kick his drug addiction. While in the house, it becomes clear that something there wants them dead. While I love a good gory horror film, the ones that are the scariest are the ones that just exude tension, which this movie has in spades. The writing, the acting, and the atmosphere in this were top-notch. It progresses in a slow and uncomfortable way that leaves you with more questions every time you get an answer. This all culminates in a finish that'll leave you thinking about it for days. Great stuff, and the kind of film that major studios would never touch. Number 6, Escape Plan. Finally a movie starring two of the greatest action heroes of all time, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. Stallone plays Ray Breslin, a guy who's paid to break out of prisons to find flaws in their security. He takes a job in an inescapable prison and discovers that somebody intentionally wanted to bury him there. He joins forces with Roddemeyer, played by Schwarzenegger, and between the two of them, they try to figure out how to get out of the prison. We need more action movies like this. Intelligent, well-acted, and with some great set pieces. Stallone and Schwarzenegger's chemistry together was wonderful, and I really hope they work together in the future. This was like an action movie from the 80s, with the production values of today. The prison design was outstanding, and while it did remind me a tiny bit of Fortress, what they did with it was completely different. An absolute blast and the kind of movie you can watch over and over. Number 5, Maniac. At first I avoided this because I chalked it up to being yet another pointless remake. However, I was absolutely wrong. This was one of those rare occasions where the remake is better than the original. The original was a groundbreaking horror film for its time and for its use of the first-person camera. However, the remake takes these elements and expands upon them. Much of the film is shot in first person, so the audience is experiencing Frank's rampage. Add to that a great screenplay from Alexandre Aja and Gregory Levasseur, and this is an intense film. Elijah Wood is phenomenal. The way the movie's shot, it is beautiful in its depravity. Also, the soundtrack is just fantastic. Amazingly good film. Number 4, The Battery. Two ex-baseball players travel across the nation trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. I know zombies are overdone these days, but this movie reminds you of why they are such an effective villain. The movie's more of a character study about these two guys who are thrown into a situation and the zombies are there to drive them forward. It delves into their need to survive and the loneliness they encounter by going day in and day out with nothing but each other. After watching this, I discovered the film only cost $6,000 to make, which is mind-blowing. While that did help to explain some of the creative choices, it doesn't mean the film felt cheap. Honestly, I've seen films with 10 times the budget that look like garbage. This looked and felt every bit as real as some much larger productions. A great film that once again proves that a good story is more important than a massive budget. Number 3, Plus One. A group of college kids go to a party where a wave of energy creates doppelgangers of everyone there. When I first heard about it, I was excited because I love the premise. The movie starts off like every other college party movie, but as the people slowly start to see what's going on, it becomes more and more of a frantic exercise to try to figure the event out. It's incredibly tense and full of moments that truly question the nature of right and wrong. In a time where there's so many remakes, it's ironic that a movie revolving around clones is one of the most original films of the year. Number 2, You're Next. Hands down, one of the best home invasion movies I've ever seen. A family's getting together for dinner when a group of masked intruders begin to ruthlessly murder all of them. This movie did so much right. Everything from the story, to the directing, to the kills, to the music, to the awesome return of Barbara Crampton. Plus, Sharni Vincent was amazing. She absolutely stole the show. One of the smartest slashers out there, and I never felt like someone was doing something out of character, or just plain stupid. The people reacted the way you think they would in this sort of situation. I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil anything. Just take my word for it. Watch it. It's fantastic. If you've been following my website at all for the past few months, you probably already know the answer to this one. My number 1 movie of the year, All Is Lost. Brilliant filmmaking. It's absolutely mind-boggling that this wasn't nominated for Best Picture and Robert Redford for Best Actor. He carried the entire film. And I don't mean he was the best actor in the movie. I mean he was the only actor in the movie. Redford plays a lone sailor who wakes up to find his boat's been hit by a shipping container, and he spends the rest of the film doing everything he can to stay afloat and survive. This movie has almost no dialogue, and it centers completely around one man. A risky endeavor, but thanks to a powerhouse performance from Robert Redford, he makes the whole thing work. He's a guy who's almost 80, giving the performance of his life. In the film, as things go wrong, Redford does what he can to fix them, and thanks to a director who doesn't treat the audience like children, he explains what's going on by the character's actions, and doesn't rely on him talking to himself, like some other movies that came out recently. Honestly, this movie is a masterpiece. I've seen literally thousands of films, and this is one of the very best. Every moment, every ordeal, every single thing he goes through is spellbinding. All right, and that is my top 10 favorite movies of the year. Oh, and for the record, The World's End was number 11. This was probably one of the hardest times I've ever had at putting a top 10 together. 2013 surprised the hell out of me. There were so many good movies. 2012 was good, but it was pretty easy to put together the top 10. I mean, there were ones that I genuinely enjoyed and loved and knew from the beginning that they were going to be in the top 10. And with 2013, there were movies that I really did enjoy that were in the top 10, but then they just got knocked out by movies that I liked better. Since I'm talking about that, let's go into the honorable mentions. Warm Bodies was really good. I thought it was going to be Twilight for zombies, but it was funny and clever and just all around a good movie. This Is the End was hysterical. I liked Kick-Ass 2. I don't know what people were bitching about. American Mary was terrific. I thought The Wolverine was a lot of fun. The Conjuring was a very scary film. That probably would have been my number 12, because at one point that was in the top 10, but it just got inched out. Collection surprised the hell out of me. I didn't think that was going to be all that great because I liked The Collector, but it kind of felt a little silly. Collection was very well done. Sightseers was terrific. Sightseers was a really good dark comedy. Open Grave. I just found out about that one towards the beginning of the year, and I was glad. That one, very suspenseful and just interesting. Here Comes the Devil was an incredibly creepy Spanish film. Bad Milo was hilarious. That one, if you like Basket Case, you got to check out Bad Milo. Contracted was not at all what I was expecting. Berber Sound Studio. It was a movie about the behind the scenes of a giallo film. They were working in the sound studio for the film, and this guy is losing his mind. If you like giallo films, you'll probably dig this because it does have a lot of homages to giallo, like Suspiria and whatnot. Cool flick, man. How I Live Now, my only gripe with it, if it would have been about a half hour longer, it would have probably been perfect. It felt like they didn't have enough build-up of the characters before they kind of threw them into this situation. But I still thoroughly enjoyed the film. Byzantium, another film with Saoirse Ronan. Very atmospheric vampire film. Only God Forgives. I know a lot of people hated it, but I enjoyed it. It was just such an interesting film. It was beautiful. The way they shot it and the way they handled it. It was from the same director as Drive, and if you didn't like Drive, you're not going to like this one at all. VHS 2, I thought they upped the ante. The first one I enjoyed, but there were certain stories that weren't as good as the others. VHS 2, I thought all the stories were good. I mean, there were ones that I enjoyed more than the others, but overall, it felt much more intense. The Shadow Cabal. This was a small independent film that was mostly funded through Kickstarter. I grew up playing Dungeons & Dragons, and this kind of feels like a D&D campaign. For a smaller production, they managed to make it feel epic. And of course, I can't not mention Man of Steel. I know so many people just hated this film, and I don't get it. Maybe I'll do a video about it someday and kind of go a little bit more into detail, but I enjoyed it. If you hated it, that's fine. That is your opinion. I personally really enjoyed it. Before I get into my worst of the year, I just want to talk about a couple of other things. After Earth was not the worst movie of the year. I will say, as an M. Night fan, it definitely was his weakest movie. But the production value, I thought it was a very good-looking film, but the biggest flaw of the film was Jaden Smith. The kid cannot act. And when you've got a movie like this that revolves around, for the most part, one character, the whole thing falls on his shoulders. And he sucked. His acting ranged from frowning to furrowing his brow and frowning. I wanted to like it because conceptually it was cool. It was a good idea. And for all you M. Night haters, no, there was no twist in it. It was odd to see him shooting a sci-fi film, but I thought, from that perspective, I thought he did it well. I realized that this was a whole production from Will Smith. He wanted another film to push his kid on the public, but if maybe he could have realized, hey, my kid's not that good of an actor, or maybe I shouldn't be resting a $150 million production on the back of a kid who can't act, and would have gotten somebody in there who was good, then the whole thing would have fared better. All right, and that out of the way, let's get on to the worst of the year. Movie 43. I had heard how bad it was, and I figured it wasn't going to be that bad because the cast list is ridiculous. And I'm like, I like all these people, and they're doing a comedy, so this will probably be good. And oh my God, is it terrible. To give you an idea, the first sketch is Kate Winslet goes on a blind date with Hugh Jackman. And Hugh Jackman has testicles for a chin. What seems like it would be like funny, okay, that's kind of funny for maybe like a Saturday Night Live bit or something. It just keeps going. All the other bits, they were trying to be edgy and gross, and it just fell apart. It didn't work. A Good Day to Die Hard, I don't know who at 20th Century Fox John Moore has naked pictures of, but this guy continues to fail up. His movies, it's bomb after bomb after bomb, and then, hey, I got an idea. Let's give him the keys to Die Hard. You know, that billion-dollar franchise? Yeah, we're getting tired of making all that money and making good movies. Let's give it to John Moore, and that'll just put an end to it altogether. Atrocious, dull action scenes that go on forever. It's so bad. The Purge, I love the concept. For 12 hours, people are able to do just whatever they want. They could go out and rob, loot, kill. It was such a cool idea. And it was undone by arguably one of the stupidest scripts I've ever seen. They had all these moments where a main character was about to die, and they're waiting, and they're like, haha, I'm gonna kill you now. And then all of a sudden, he gets rescued at just the last moment. And I mean, that's fine if you do it once, but I think they did it like 4 times in the movie. Stupid movie. World War Z was Brad Pitt jaunting around the globe, avoiding the CGI zombie apocalypse. It had kind of a good opening. It just, after that, it derailed and it never was exciting again. It was just boring. However, my number one worst movie of the year, and this surprised the hell out of me, Spring Breakers. When I first heard about it, I thought it was going to be kind of a funny, intriguing attempt at a little bit of modern exploitation. You've got 4 girls that rob a restaurant to get money to go on spring break. Instead, what we got was James Franco going, "Spring break forever.
Spring break. Spring break. Spring break forever."
It was this attempt to be so artistic and so deep. Every transition there was a gun cocking, and I understood it the first time. And then the second time, okay, and I'm going by the rule of 3. But seriously, every transition.
Shit.
It was beating you over the head with the point. And then there were these odd interludes that was like a music video where they're playing this awful music. There are people that argue that this movie is supposed to be seen. It's like a lucid dream and there's colors and all this. Hey, I got an idea. Instead of lucid dream and colors and all that, how about you put a good movie in there somewhere? It was abysmal. The acting was terrible. The directing was terrible. The story was terrible. The way that it was structured was terrible. Everybody in this movie was annoying. Like a half hour into the film, I thought it had already been like an hour and a half. I was shocked. I was like, we have to sit through another hour of this? And when you've got a movie that's got Vanessa Hudgens and Selena Gomez in bikinis, I shouldn't be looking at my watch. It was painful to get through. I just couldn't stand the movie. At one point, you had James Franco, who's playing Alien, who's this drug dealer, singing in its entirety a Britney Spears song, and intentionally bad. Like, he's supposed to kind of be this dope, and he's singing this song, and they sing the entire song. It's a bunch of garbage that is trying to be artsy. And I like artistic movies. You could take a movie like Only God Forgives and Drive were artistic movies. They were artsy movies. I even like Liquid Sky, and that movie is weird, but it is a very artsy movie, and I like that one. But this, it was just irritating. It was annoying. It did everything in its power to get under your skin and make you angry. The ending was stupid. It was contrived. It tried way too hard to feel intelligent and to be thought-provoking. I hated it. This is not just the worst movie of the year. This, in my humble opinion, is the worst movie of the decade. Well, now that I've gotten all that out, that was finally my best and worst list for 2013. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't ramble on for too long. I hope you check out some of the ones on my best of and honorable mentions list. They all, honestly, in my opinion, deserve to be seen, and avoid at all costs the worst ones. Again, this is my personal opinion. If you disagree with me, that's fine. You're entitled to like or dislike whatever. Just because I like something or dislike something doesn't detract from if you like or dislike something. I know some people who liked Spring Breakers. I don't agree with them. I think it's a horrible film, but if they watch it and they enjoy it, sure, more power to them. If they like to watch crap, go right ahead.